stories in the same order. Now, surely in a country as vast as ours, from sea to shining sea, with 300 million people in it, there is more than enough news for each of the radio stations and each of the television stations to be able to report some different happenings and events and issues occurring in different communities across the country, and even in different communities and neighborhoods within the city or town or borough that where you live or where you work. But is that the way the media, is that your experience with the media? No, it isn't. If you want to hear news that is different, if you want to hear the other news that has been that is quite frankly ignored by the mainstream media, you have to come to WBAI so that you can listen to the WBAI, the award-winning WBAI Evening News. And this is why we're asking you this afternoon to go to the phones to make that call. The number is 516-620-3602. That's 516-620-3602. I need now in the for the next for the next 10-15 minutes, I need another 35 calls. Another 35 of your calls. The number is 516-620-3602. And your $75 tax-deductible contribution to WBAI gets you your very own personal copy on a double audio CD set of Malcolm's Last Message. That's Malcolm's Last Message as a thank you gift to you with your pledge at the $75 level this afternoon. And the number to call with that pledge of support is 516-620-3602. We're going to return in just a few seconds to more of Malcolm X while you head to the telephones and call that number 516-620-3602. But before we do, let's hear from my colleague, Mr. Michael G. Haskins. Mr. Haskins.
Yes, we're waiting for those calls coming in throughout the tri-state area here in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and certainly far afield from that at WBAI.org. Once again, the number is 516-620-3602. You're pledging your support for Talkback with Hugh Hamilton on WBAI. That's right, WBAI, this radio station that has been on the air for 53 years, over half a century, commercially free and listener-sponsored, thanks to you. So, though that number again, 516-620-3602. And it is not just the fact that we're playing this speech, Malcolm X, the last message of Malcolm X. But just think, just go back in your mind. Those of you who have been around for a while and can remember, not too long ago, just think about Dr. Betty Shabazz and how the radio station embraced Malcolm's widow and would have her featured forums and all kinds of things about Dr. Betty Shabazz and kept what she was doing in our minds. We did that at this radio station, WBAI. All of the producers and programmers that you know and love, we have done that over the years at this radio station, and that is our responsibility. It is now your responsibility to step forward and support the radio station. And yes, you can do so on a quarterly basis. And the number is 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. You pay your cable bill every month, and it is a hefty cable bill. It really is. And we're just asking you, for quarterly. You know, we're in our winter fundraising and membership drive now, and it's a major fundraising drive, and we need your help now. We need your support so that we can continue this work. 516-620-3602.
Indeed, that's the number to call, 516-620-3602. Please continue to call while the presentation is in progress, because I want to bring you as much of this as it is possible to do within the time available to us. So we'll return to more of Malcolm's last message. We'll send it to you as a thank you gift when you call us with a pledge of support, a tax-deductible contribution at the $75 level. 516-620-3602. We thank you very much for your support. Here now is more of Malcolm's last message.
And these pilots are hired. Their salaries are paid by the United States government. They're called mercenaries, these pilots are. And a mercenary is not someone who kills you because he's patriotic. He kills you for blood money. He's a hired killer. That's what a mercenary means. And they're able to take these hired killers, put them in American planes with American bombs, and drop them on African villages, blowing to bits, black men, black women, black children, black babies, and you black people sitting over here cool like it doesn't even involve you. You're a fool. They'll do it to them today and do it to you tomorrow. Because you and I and they are all the same. They call it a humanitarian project, and that they're doing it in the name of freedom. And all of this, these glorious terms are used to pave the way in your mind for what they're going to do. Then they take Shombi. You heard of Shombi. He's the worst African that was ever born. The lowest type that was ever born. He's a murderer himself. He's the murderer of Lumumba, the former prime minister of the first and only rightful prime minister of the Congo. He's a murderer with an international stature as a murderer. Yet the United States government went and got Shombi in Spain and put him as the head of the Congolese government. Imagine that. This is criminal. Here's a man who's a murderer. So the United States takes him, puts him over the Congo, and supports his government with your tax dollars. Now, in other words, they hire him to occupy the position as head of state over the Congo. A killer. He is a hired killer himself. His salary paid by the United States government. And his first move is to bring in South Africans who hate everything in sight. He hires those South Africans to come and kill his own Congolese people. And the United States, again, pays their salary. You know, it's something to think about. How do you think you would feel right now if some Congolese brothers walked up to you? They look just like you. Don't think you don't look Congolese. You look as much Congolese as a Congolese does. They got all kinds of Congolese over there. How would you feel if one of them walked up to you and asked you about what your government is doing in the Congo? I was asked that when I was over there. But they don't have to come to me like that because they know where I stand automatically anyway. And for which I'm thankful to the press for letting everybody know where I stand. But you have no explanation. Your tongue stays in your mouth. And you have to then go to the extreme to convince them that you don't go along with what the United States government is doing in the Congo. But again, your image making comes into importance here. And they justify the usage of Shombi as the present head of state by saying he's the only African who can unite or bring unity to the Congo. Has he brought unity to the Congo? But see, this is their game. And their real reason for wanting Shombi there was so that Shombi could invite them to come in. No other African head of state would have dared to invite outside powers, so they put Shombi there. And as soon as Shombi got there, then he invited them to bring paratroopers from Belgium in the United States transport planes to try and recapture the Congo. This was all a cold-blooded act on the part of your Western powers, namely the Western powers here in the the interest in the United States, in England, in France, and in Belgium, and so forth. They want the wealth of the Congo, plus its strategic geographic position. The step-by-step process that was used by the press, first they fanned the flame in such a manner to create hysteria in the mind of the public and then they shift gears and fan the flame in a manner designed to get the sympathy of the public. And once they go from hysteria to sympathy, their next step is to get the public to support them in whatever act they're getting ready to go down with. You're dealing with a cold, calculating international machine that's so criminal in its objectives and motives that it has the seeds of its own destruction right within it. They use the press to emphasize that white hostages are being held by cannibals. Imagine that. Or white priests, white missionaries, white nuns. They don't say nuns. White nuns. You know what the paper said right here in Detroit. White missionaries. Not just a missionary. A white nun. As if there's a difference between a white nun and a black nun. Or a white priest and a black priest. Or if the life that's in a white skin is more valuable than a life within a black skin. This is what they're implying. And the press, go get the press when this thing was going on, and you see what I'm talking about. They're vicious in their whiteness. But still, I wouldn't judge them just because they're white, because they call me a racist. Judge them by their deeds, by their conscious behavior. And you know how they've been consciously behaving in the Congo, and how they consciously behave in Vietnam, and how they consciously behave right now in Alabama and Mississippi. So you and I got to get conscious and start behaving in a way that we can offset this thing before it's too late. And this is what they don't want to hear. One more thing concerning Shambi. If you notice, and I must go all over there on the African continent in order to give you a better understanding of what's going on right here. The next thing that is good to know about Shambi, no Congolese troops have ever won any victories whatsoever for the present Congolese government. Congolese soldiers won't even fight unless they're forced to. But the fighters in the Congo were the freedom fighters, these brothers from the Oriental Eastern province. And they fought with stones and sticks and rocks, spears and arrows. And the only time they had a gun was when they got some soldier who had it, and they'd kill him and take his gun. But they were winning. They took over 2/3 of the Congo, showing you they were fighting from their heart. Whereas these other people, their heart wasn't in it. And because of the fighting spirit of these people, it will be impossible for Shambi to remain as head of state over the Congo without additional troops, white troops, constantly being brought in from South Africa or elsewhere. But sooner or later, these troops are going to give out, and then America is going to have to increase her troops, like she did in South Vietnam. You know, she has. She's not at war over there, you know. They're only over there advising. They got about 20,000 advisors, you know, on the front line. But it's not a war. It's just they're in an advisory capacity while they insult the intelligence of their own public. And
insulting the intelligence of their own public. The number is 516-620-3602. Malcolm's last message. Thus far this afternoon, we've been presenting Malcolm X Unchained on the eve of the 48th anniversary of Malcolm X's assassination. This afternoon, we've been featuring Malcolm's last message, which is the final public message delivered by Malcolm X on February 14th of 1965. Just 1 week before his assassination here in New York. This speech was delivered in Detroit on the same day that Malcolm's home in New York was firebombed. And it is a remarkable, wide-ranging manifesto in which we are introduced, for those who had not been following the trajectory of Malcolm X's career and philosophical and political and religious evolution. We are introduced in this speech to Malcolm X the internationalist, Malcolm X the Pan-Africanist, Malcolm X the humanist, Malcolm X the champion of human rights, who recognized that it was necessary to raise the plight of oppressed people, including African Americans and others who were similarly oppressed in other parts of the world, raising their child, raising their condition from a crisis of civil rights to a crisis of human rights. We are introduced here to the Malcolm X who elevates workers' rights over capitalism. we are introduced here to Malcolm X, the women's rights advocate. This is a Malcolm X who has been hidden from you by the corporate and mainstream media. But it is our job, it is our responsibility, and one that we bear proudly, and with great pleasure we exercise this ability to bring you this Malcolm X, to introduce this Malcolm X to you, and to set the historical record straight. You know, I began the program this afternoon by citing a remembrance of Malcolm X by Lamont Lilly, the North Carolina-based activist and journalist. Lamont Lilly, by the way, is a monthly columnist for Spectacular magazine and a contributing editor with the Triangle Free Press. He also formerly served as an international human rights delegate with Witness for Peace in Colombia. He lives in Durham, is an organizer, writer, and community activist. And his remembrance of Malcolm, which was published at, let's see, it was published at, I think it's called, I don't remember the website right now, but it's on our, you'll find it on Facebook. I put a link to it on our Facebook page. You'll find us on Facebook under my name, Hugh Hamilton. And, in his remembrance of Malcolm, the remembrance itself is titled, We Are Malcolm X, This in Remembrance. Lamont Lilly writes, the beauty of Malcolm was that only he could represent the truth of the black experience with such fury and eloquence. Only he could dissect the brutality of American hypocrisy with such fearless clarity and impenitent passion. With heart and mind, body and soul, he awoke the dead and led the army from the front, into the street, through the rain, into the middle of the ghetto, and right in front of Mr. Hoover and his COINTELPRO. In the end, Malcolm was me, and Malcolm was you. Malcolm was the people and the beat of our hearts. We didn't lose Brother Malcolm. He was a shepherd of the sheep who gave himself. Thanks, Brother Malcolm. I, too, am Malcolm X. Thus writes Lamont Lilly in his piece, Remembering Malcolm X. This piece was published last year, but I thought that it was so compelling, and it was on the money. I mean, it's such a brilliant piece that I've put it up on our Facebook.
I want to make sure that everybody that requested the book got the book, and I work very, very closely with Mr. Waters, making sure that the books got here. And I want to thank and applaud the work of Bertold Reimers, the general manager, making sure that the books got here, and all the listeners that wanted this book onto New Orleans, Louisiana's heroic 1811 slave revolt got those books. And the same will happen as we go forward. The same will happen if you call up and pledge your support to WBAI this afternoon, 516-620-3602. And you can make that contribution of $400 if you want. I'm calling it the Caldwell Chronicle University Pack. That's what I'm calling it. But you just ask for it when you go in and dial the number 516-620-3602. Be patient with them, as this is a new service that we're using. We're not using the volunteers, and we're not able to run in the back and just say, is everything all right? It's a new call center. Because of Hurricane Sandy, our phone system here has been compromised. Let me just read something. When I went to the bank this afternoon before I came to work, what was staring me in the face at Chase Bank, probably the largest bank, one of the largest banks in the world, it says here, due to an ongoing issue with Verizon's phone and internet service caused by Hurricane Sandy, our ATMs may experience temporary outages. Now, it's not just WBAI. You can say, well, BAI, they're always having. No. Citibank across the street from us here is not yet back online. The bank up the street, Chase Bank, one of the largest banks in the world, had put out this memo in relation to all its customers that were coming in today, due to an ongoing issue with Verizon's phone and internet service. We are under that as well, and that is one of the reasons why we're having to leave this place, this 120 Wall Street. I mean, we've been here since 1998. And before, as Robert Knight pointed out yesterday, was, we came here with all the best of intentions. It was great being in this building full of nonprofits. But after 9/11 and the revitalization of Lower Manhattan, all things changed and rules were changed and rewritten. And so now we're having to go. We can no longer afford to live and have our studios here. So they're very gracious, our friends, and they are our friends at City College have reached out to us. So thank them very, very much. And also thank the volunteers who came to this radio station today, who came to this radio station yesterday to help us move, and bring in their trucks and their cars to help us get this material out of here and getting it into storage and getting it up to our new temporary home at City College. But the number that we need you to call right now, if you haven't done so already, is 516-620-3602. Just ask for On to New Orleans. If that is what piques your interest this afternoon, ask for On to New Orleans. It's a $100 contribution to WBAI. 516-620-3602. Yes, write it down because it's a new number. It's not a 212 number. It's 516-620-3602. Now let me say a little something about the book, Sick from Freedom. African American illness and suffering during the Civil War and Reconstruction. It's a new book by Jim Downs, and Jim Downs was in the studios of WBAI just last week, the week before, the end of the week before last, sitting down and talking with Hugh Hamilton for well over 70 minutes, talking about this book, Sick from Freedom. Now, we know about the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, and the slaves were emancipated. But what did that mean? You had a situation where 4 million people were no longer in chattel slavery. So now, what happens to these people? Where do they go? How are they clothed? How are they fed? What do they do for work? Okay, some of them went and joined military service in the Civil War and fought for the Union. Some of them fought for the Union, yes. But what happened to those who didn't fight for the Union? There were laborers, and the overwhelming impetus for the Union during that period was to get the former slaves, they were called contraband, then they were called freedmen, to get them to work again. In many instances for free. And that's part of what this story is about. It is also about how these people, without clothing and without any provisions being made for them by the Union, it was a great concept to liberate these people, but what do we do? And the Union didn't have that quite figured out. So that's what this story is. And the cholera and the smallpox that these people, your ancestors in many cases, listening to us right now, sick from freedom. Don't let anybody tell you that you are not from a robust people, because you are, because you're here right today because of their quest for freedom. This is in 1865. 1811 is before that. We have so much material to share with you. The Caldwell Chronicle University Pack is available for a $400 contribution this afternoon. If you want to get that, you can do that as well. If you want to make $1,000 or $1,000 contribution, I know we've had some generous friends here for this broadcast and this radio station, and I'm not asking those that have made contributions of that kind before, but I know there are many of you out there right now that can step to us at the $400 level or the $500 level if you'd like. 516-620-3602 for the Caldwell Chronicle this afternoon. We also have lynching, an American tradition. Lynching, an American tradition. It is the first piece that I produced here many, many years ago, and I had contributing producers, and they were veteran producers at that time. Sally O'Brien, at the time, Jesse Keys, you know him as Dred Scott Keys now. They helped me because I went to them and said, I want to tell this story on lynching. Well, some people at the station at the time said, no, we've told that story. Well, why do we have to tell the story? We have to tell this story again and again and again because people don't know. People don't know the history. So, lynching, an American tradition, is available now for a $50 contribution by calling us now. It's an audio CD at 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. In fact, I may play some of that CD for you just to give you a sampling of what is in that what will be coming your way. You know, you go to these PTAs and you go to these community groups and you clamp down onto New Orleans and say, why isn't this being taught in the school? Why are we going and bringing Leon Waters up here to talk to our community groups? Well, we're doing it because we're a community radio station, because you, the listener, have supported this radio station, certainly this broadcast, and the entire framework of WBAI. 516-620-3602. Yes, we asked for additional time, and yes, it was given to us, but we need to hear from you right now. Those of you who are listening all across this tri-state area and beyond, you might be listening to us in Texas now on the internet at WBAI.org. Then we need to hear from you. We need you to call 516-620-3602. You can also pledge online at give2WBAI.org. And all these things, all these items are available on the website. give2WBAI.org. This is the Caldwell Chronicle with Earl Caldwell. 516-620-3602. Let us hear from you, folks. The calls are coming in right now. Let me see how many you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 so far. And so I said that what I would do, once we got the first 10 calls, since we don't have any phone calls, we don't have any sounds of phone calls, I would do this at the end of the first 10 calls. Wait a minute. So we got 10 calls. I know it's cheeky, but, you know, sometimes I get bored. And so we're on to the second ring. No, well, you can't hold it. You just hold the cardboard. There you go. Wait. Yeah, we have 11 calls on the line now, but wait a minute, hold it. What? Say it again.
I said we have 11 calls on the line. That's very good.
Yes. And so we're going to build on that. We need 11 more of you calling right now to the Caldwell Chronicle. On to New Orleans, Louisiana's heroic 1811 slave revolt. You want lynching? An American tradition. Think about that. Myself and Dred, we labored over what to call this back then at the end of the 80s. What are we going to call this? Lynching, an American tradition. That's a $50 contribution to WBAI this afternoon, supporting the Caldwell Chronicle. Yes, that's right. Let's go, folks. Let's go. Let's have those. I was only planning on ringing it once per 10 calls. So that's supposed to mean
the number is 516-620-3602. That's a beautiful little toy.
Yeah, that's for a bike phone, and I better not lose that either. 516-620-3602 for the Caldwell Chronicle this afternoon. Okay, that's great. Seeing these 11 calls coming in, we need to build upon that, and we can do it, and we will do it with your calls of support for the Caldwell Chronicle this afternoon. Now, just let me say this. When you make the call, these are not our regular phone volunteers. that are so used to us and turn on a dime. These are new folks. They're this call center that we're working with because of the move. So be patient. They know what is being offered right now at WBAI. This is the Caldwell Chronicle on WBAI. 516-620-3602. See, our call came in at 441, and another one came at 444. I'm sorry, 442. So that's right. That's what we want. Every minute, a call to come in for the Caldwell Chronicle. Beautiful folks, you're doing fantastic. That's what we need to do throughout this fundraising drive. Quite frankly, we need your help. We need your support. On to New Orleans, Louisiana's heroic 1811 slave revolt. Just ask for On to New Orleans. They know what you want. They know what you want. 516-620-3602. Let me see another call coming in right now so we can get that second 10 calls, so we can get to 20 calls. 516-620-3602. Also online at WBAI.org. Give to WBAI.org. Thank you, folks, for these calls coming in. Can we see another call? I want to see another call coming in for the Caldwell Chronicle here this afternoon at 516-620-3602.
Yeah, there's one of the things I want to go back to Mr. Waters when he was on the phone, and what I'm taught. The point is this. The book the kid wrote from Harvard, he mentioned 9/11, but it was sanitized. It was sanitized.
You mean 1811?
1811. They took out the horror. What did you hear what the man said when he's on the phone? And he talked about how one of these, one of those involved in the uprising, one of the leaders, hands chopped off, and they put a spit in him and roasted him like a pig. The brutality. What is it? We need to, this has to be out there. Because at the bottom line is this. And the stories are full of, the newspapers are full of these stories, that in this bad economy, there's one group of Americans who are not. At Howard University, earlier this month, they convened a meeting, an African-American economic summit at Howard, and they talked about what's happened to black people and through all of this downturn in the economy. And when you go through it and see all of these things, what we as a community have lost and where we wound up, you understand why we have to rise up. We have to begin to come together and rise up. But if we can't educate our children, if we can't excite our children about education, what chance do we have? They have to be the ones. We're allowing these public schools, we're allowing them to pull American history out of the textbooks because it's American history they don't like. It's American history they don't want to confront. It's not a question, and it's not true. The research stands. They don't want even you to know. They don't want you to know. They don't want me to know. We've got to fight. But you can't fight if we don't know. This is what I'm saying. And I say, again, this On to New Orleans is the centerpiece. If you haven't got it, you must get it. Did you hear Mr. Waters say how people all over the country, this was aimed at New York, but it's streaming on the internet, and people all over are beginning to want to get the authentic report of those who were there. Mr. Waters was a relative of some of those involved. So this is a hugely important premium we're offering this afternoon. That is yours for a gift of $100. The most expensive single gift is $100. And we have 4 of them for $100. On to New Orleans, Sick from Freedom, Remembering Slavery, Race Riots, and Roller Coasters. And we have 2 $50 premiums with that. Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch, Lynching an American Tradition, a documentary by Michael G. Haskins. This entire package, it's yours for a gift of $400. You know, if you have On to New Orleans and you're with the group, you should pull up $400 and get all of these items, and then you can share them. But it's not just that this is Black History Month and we are committed to delving deeper into Black history, and these are tools for us to do that, but also it's your chance to support WBAI at one of the most crucial moments since I've been involved with the station. This right now, we are way out there, and we need your support. So we need you to call us. Michael G., how many calls do we have on the line now?
Well, Earl, we got 2 more calls since that 4:42. I know we got to get about another at least dozen calls before we get to the top of the hour.
Amen.
And at the top of the hour, we're going to break and we're going to play, 15 minutes or so of lynching in American tradition to give you a sample of that. That will be available as well. If you want it it's available as a standalone item for a $50 contribution on CD. You can do that. We'll send that to you as a thank you gift for supporting us at the $50 level at 516-620-3602. But if you want the entire pack, the University Pack, the Caldwell Chronicle University Pack on this final broadcast from 120 Wall Street for the Caldwell Chronicle, then you can have it for a $400 contribution. 516-620-3602. I'm telling you, you ought to get this book, Sick from Freedom, African American Illness and Suffering During the Civil War and Reconstruction. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. Talking about information, things that you don't know. You didn't know anything about this. It's a brand new book full of information. Let us hear from you now. Thank you so much for calling 516-620-3602. Is that the one that has the interview with Hugh Hamilton? Absolutely, yes.
Yes, it's hugely important. Sick from Freedom. This package we offer today, it's so fitting. It's Black History Month, and it's so wonderful that we have such a comprehensive package to offer you, and I hope that you will respond. If you can't take everything, pick the pieces out that you want. But this is this material that we're offering you today, and I can put it like this: a lot of this you can go to the bookstore. I don't care what bookstore. You can go to the biggest Barnes and Noble in New York City, and you're not going to find these items. No, this is something that's developed over a period of 2 years. It's been long in the making, searching for the pieces, and we're going to continue to build on this. But we have this afternoon something in here for everyone. We need your support. So please let us hear from you. How many calls do we have now, Michael?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more.
Oh, yes, 6 more. And if we can get that 6 and another 6 with it to take us to the top of the hour, let us try to do that. 6, we got 6, 6 and 6. That's what we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't have our telephone. You see, the telephone's knocked out here, but Michael's brought in this wonderful I Love My Bike toy. He only brought one, too. Brought one for himself. Well, nothing for Earl. But that's okay. When I get done with this one today, it's going to be wore out. Let us hear from you. Our telephone number, once again, write it down. Call somebody else. Join with us in saying that we know that this is a difficult time. We know that you're moving. We know that this is the last broadcast, but we're going to make it a memorable one. We're going to make this last day special. I know that you'll do it. I know that you'll join with us in that. The number is 516-620-3602. Again, 516-620-3602. Let us hear from you now. We're trying to get the calls before the top of the hour. We just need a few more. You be the one to stand up and make that call. Ring that number.
Boy, I got to tell you, Earl, a number of people have decided to get the entire pack. That is the University Pack.
Yes, because you know why? This is unique. You will not find this. You can go to Barnes and Noble, go anywhere you want to. This took a long time to put it together. Plus, we have all these special in the package, all of these interviews with the author, all of the discussion of it, and and I'll tell you something. If you were listening to Mr. Waters this afternoon, you know that you've got serious people, serious-minded people, committed to digging and digging until they get the truth. And when they get the truth, they know it when they see it. And they've come up with these gems. I thought this whole thing today talking about how the government The government, how they they compensated the slaveholders. When these big plantations were tore up by those slaves, they reimbursed them.
That's something.
And then cut their heads off and put them on posts. But I tell you this, and we should always remember this, and we need to reach out to the Haitians in a more meaningful way, because they are the ones that dared to show what is possible, what we can do when we come together and keep our eyes on the prize and show that we are a serious people. Let us hear from you now.
I can't tell you what is in front of me right now. He is right. Earl is right when he said, Mr. Waters, and those folks down there in Louisiana, I'm not talking about up here north, in Louisiana, are serious.
Yes.
I got all kinds of flyers talking about lecture series. Mr. Waters gave this to me when he was down here, when he came to the studios of WBAI to first present this book, On to New Orleans. I'm going to give you the number again, 516-620-3602. Before you leave work or before you leave your house, before you do anything, you make sure that you call up and support the Caldwell Chronicle on WBAI 99.5 FM.
We need to hear from you now, folks. We got a few minutes before we have to take a break here at the top of the hour. You be the ones. You be the one this time that gets to the phone. You be the one that takes the step to make sure that we get the calls that we need before we have to take our break. But there is something in the air, and it's not just our leaving here, but that is a part of it. It's in a way we are ending this chapter here, but we're going to a new beginning. We're reaching out, and hopefully when this is at the end of this, we'll be able to land in our own building. I see Bloomberg's up there giving and changing the laws and all this stuff so the rich people can take over spaces in the public thing and everything. Why doesn't he find one of these city-owned buildings to give to WBAI? That's something maybe we're going to have to get today. Just phone call us. That's enough. That's next week.
Yes, we'll work on that.
Call him and tell him that too.
That's right. 516-620-3602. Look at this. Louisiana Museum of African American History presents Hidden History Lectures, 21st Century Mirrors of the Ramifications of Reconstruction on Black Women. This took place in 2010. What else? The Louisiana Museum of African American History Lecture Series presents the September 1874 White League coup d'etat against the Reconstruction government, also in 2010. What else do we have here? Women of African descent in the Civil War in 2011. They got, look here. Where's this other thing that I have about the, where is, okay, say, we can stop the waterway project. The Army Corps of Engineers' notorious plan to widen the industrial canal locks on the 9th Ward is a bad idea. It's a conspiracy to steal the land of small owners and eventually drive up the rents of workers living in the area. Now, this is a flyer from some time ago, but I just read that to show you the commitment that these folks down there in Louisiana have, and we support their efforts and what they're doing. And they support us getting the information out to all of you. And we are asking you to join us on the phone now at 516-620-3602 or online at give2wbai.org. This is the kind of spirit and enthusiasm that we need to see in terms of fundraising. It doesn't have to be like me, but it has to be enthusiastic and speaking to your audience, whoever your audience is. 516-620-3602, because they're listening to you, because you have got something to say and information to bring them. 516-620-3602. Thanks for those calls coming into WBAI this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so very, very much. Keep those calls coming. We need your support, and I say you always stand with us. This day is special. We need to hear from everybody. Please. Once one last time, 516-620-3602.
doing well this afternoon. I thank you so much. I'm going to thank the folks at the call center for taking your pledges and being nimble as they get to each and every one of these pledges, because each and every one of your calls is important to WBAI, to the future of WBAI, getting ready to write a new chapter for WBAI. We're at 99.5 FM. We are and will continue to be at 99.5 FM WBAI. My name is Michael G. Haskins, and I'm here with Earl Caldwell on this expanded edition of the Caldwell Chronicle with Earl Caldwell. We're talking about a number of things this afternoon. Primarily, we're talking about the book On to New Orleans, Louisiana's Heroic 1811 Slave Revolt. And Mr. Leon Waters was on the line with us just a few moments ago, about an hour ago, and he joined us online from Louisiana talking about the book. And we are offering that now. We're offering also Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch, and that's a $50 pledge to WBAI this afternoon. Race, Riots, and Roller Coasters: The Struggle Over Segregated Recreation in America. It's by Victoria W. Walcott, and I went up to Buffalo to interview her in September. And I have the book and the CD. The interview with the author is available for a $100 contribution. If you can do that, that would be great. Remembering Slavery, a book in MP3 CD is available for $100. Sick from Freedom, the book and CD interview